All right, welcome to the home of Don Mazzone at 300 Price Street in Westchester. Don, tell us a little bit about your front, what you have going on the front here with your fruit trees.
Okay, thank you. Well, I wanted to develop an orchard, and the first thing to do is to get fruit trees. So we have a big cherry tree here, and we have a little start.
You said this is a Bing cherry tree?
Bing cherry.
Okay.
And we have a McIntosh apple, my favorite kind of apple, right here. And a blueberry bush, which I think is going to bloom blueberries even this very first year. It's doing rather well.
It's doing very good.
Yeah. It's only been planted for 3 weeks, and the squirrels are visiting it, so that's why I put wire around it.
I think we're going to need to wrap it up.
Maybe
put some
so.
bird netting on there.
Exactly.
Yeah, looking good though.
So, and over here we have a pear tree. And it was interesting. The pear tree was packed, the ball of it was packed differently than the Bing and the apple. And it lost its leaves when I first planted it, but it's doing rather well now, and actually has grown a little bit. So I think it just had to get acclimated. I know all these trees are good for Pennsylvania, and it was part of why I chose them.
Welcome to Don's backyard, which is actually no longer a yard, but a fruit growing space. Don decided to participate in Westchester Green Team's Dawn to Garden project. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about it?
Right. That's Courtney's name. Dawn to Garden to Dawn to Garden. It was so cute. Anyway, it's a new experience for me to do gardening. I've always been managing mature shrubs and replacing trees on my busy corner. But now's the time to start growing food and having your own food supply and being able to offer it to neighbors as well.
No time like the present. So the cool thing about containers is that you can move them around. If it's getting too much sun, you can pull it somewhere else. And you can also line the bottoms of these fabric containers, which are more sustainable because they're not plastic. You can line them with crushed bottles that you had to use for ingredients in your kitchen. I know that we were using a lot of cans and things like that. It's a great way to recycle them, create a little bit of drainage for your soil. John, do you want to tell us about your crops that you have going on?
Well, these in here are rainbow carrots, and which was a brand new thing for me to learn, that there are rainbow carrots. And we've seen little bubbles of their sprouting happening. And then in the next container we have more radishes, but they're giant radishes, so they're in a much bigger container. And then we have a tomato plant starting as well. So we've been involved in the coffee business for a long time, and we happen to have 2 bags that transport the green beans for coffee. And we thought they would be the perfect containers for growing potatoes. And we put a series of levels. You want to talk about the different soils we have in there?
Yeah, so we filled up these bags with a little bit of, we started with our reused, recycled bottles that we smushed into small pieces and threw at the bottom to create that drainage like I was saying. Then we added a little bit of topsoil, and then we kind of gradually made the soil richer as it got to the top, maybe 6 inches, and then to the top was very rich material. And we buried the potatoes about 4 to 6 inches down, and they sprouted quite quickly. So we're looking forward to having potatoes this fall. So Dawn and I just finished watering her spring and soon-to-be summer garden. We have lots of different crops here. We'll start with the spring crops first. Similar to what we have in the pots here, we have Napa cabbage, 4 heads, and some purple mustards, which which are great sauteed, by the way. And we also have some collard greens, which are going to thrive throughout the summertime as well. And last but not least, we have our kale and 1 head of lettuce. We call this our kale corner. And check out this trellis. So here we decided to plant some Chinese pole beans and some royal burgundy beans. They're gonna be purple, half of them will be purple and half of them will be green. And they're gonna climb all the way up this trellis and produce until fall time. So if you live in an apartment or a place where you don't have a large backyard to turn into a food growing space, you know that probably your only option is potted plants. But potting mix can be really expensive, and over time, if you love potting plants, whether indoors or outdoors, it can really become expensive. So we have decided here to make our own potting mix and use old pots, and we decided to rehab individual cabbage plants, and they'll get quite large in these big pots, and you can just cut them off, use them once. And here we have some volunteer tomato plants from our friend Nathaniel Smith's backyard, and these will be used in our children's gardening program this summer, so stay tuned for that. Alright, so thank you for participating in the Dawn to Garden project with the Westchester Green Team, and for turning your lawn into a victory garden.
Oh, thank you, Courtney, because without your enthusiasm it wouldn't have happened. And it's been a dream of mine, so I really appreciate it. And there's a lot of lawns in the USA. What if they all turned into gardens?
Good question.